What's up, you guys? Jazz out here in Singapore, and thank you so much for being here with me on the Night Owl podcast. It's been a minute. I have been a little bit erratic with my posting, obviously, this year. Lots going on, lots for me to process, a lot of change, which I don't necessarily like, but I'm trying to lean into. But I want to talk to you about predictive, oh gosh, predictive reasoning, because I feel like a lot of us, that's what we do, right? We talk about the fact that we had bad relationships in the past, we've had bad experiences in the past, we've been traumatized, we've been, destroyed and broken, we're not whole, we're not what we think we need to be, and it's because something else happened in the past. And I get it, I've been there too. There have been a long moments in my life where I feel like my past traumas really defined who I was, and this is why I am the way that I am, and I just allowed it to remain that way. I kind of like resigned myself to the fact that I would be broken because of this and this happened. But what I realized along the way is I have a choice. I can stay where I was when the destruction happened, and I created this persona around who I am now because these things hurt, and certain types of, feelings I don't do very well, and certain types of influences I can't be around because they really hurt that much. But eventually I was like, no, I am limiting myself. I am restricting myself from having a really great life and a really great experience. And I can't afford to do that anymore, because when I shut myself down and keep myself away from those things, there's less and less space for me to operate in. So that's part of the reason I want to talk about this, because I feel like there's a lot going on in the world right now, and a lot of us are very, very adamant that, you know what, you need to adjust to me because my trauma is this bad. But here's the thing, when we keep it that bad and we keep it close to our hearts like that, we don't allow ourselves to move past it either. Because now you've changed this person, you've created this person that's around you to be just the way you need them to be, so that you can still work within that framework, and you feel like you're no longer growing. So that's the next problem, right? Oh, they stifle me now. They don't allow me to do the things that I want to do. But part of that is you've asked them to be a specific way so that you can operate within that belief system that, yes, I'm traumatized, I've been through this shit, I am broken, I'm damaged, I need extra TLC, this is how you need to be so I can feel good about myself. But that's not how the world works. That's not how you grow and achieve things and heal beyond the things that have happened to you. The reason I said predictive reasoning is because I have met so many people in my life as I'm doing this mental health work that are very good at predicting the responses based on things that their exes have done to them. I've had people that will come to me and say, you know what, I know exactly what you're going to say. I can hear it in my head now. Your jealousy is showing. I can hear the fact that you're going to tell me that this is how you feel now. And that's based on what their exes have told them. But that means you're also taking my decisions from me. You're taking my ability to be myself, and you're basically assuming and accusing me of being just like everybody else. But that's not how the world works. You're not giving me a chance to prove to you that I'm different. You're not giving me a chance to be who I am and then say, you know what, yeah, you're just like these people because your behavior says that. Instead, you're predicting the response. You're predicting based on your own reasoning that this is the way I'm going to be because maybe my face changed at one moment, or maybe I said something close. There was a similar word that I used or whatever. But I feel like when you do that, you're not moving past your hurt. You're not moving past the things that hurt you. You're not giving yourself the ability to allow people, that's a very scary word, allow people to prove you wrong. Why? Because your life is built on your belief system. And if something were to prove you wrong, if something were to go against everything that you believe that the world is around you, this is how the world is, you've made up these rules, right? And that goes against them, suddenly you're left with, oh my God, what else am I wrong about? It's the reason people take betrayal so hard. When you live your life with somebody and you trust them and you depend on them and you've built your life around them, and it's great, right? There are parts of it that aren't so great, but there are most parts that are pretty great, and you feel good about yourselves. And then something happens where you did not expect them to do this one thing, and it happened, and now you're like, oh my God, I don't know you at all. I don't know you anymore. I couldn't believe that you would do something like this to me. And instead of asking them, okay, well, what made them feel like they had to behave in this particular manner, you now are questioning everything that they've ever done, ever said, all the commitments you've made, all the promises, all the memories you've made. Like, I don't know. Suddenly your entire world is up in the air. It's the reason that sometimes when I tell my mom, this is how I felt about something for a very long time, and she knows very well how I felt about it. But then I explain to her why, and she's looking at me like, what are you trying to say? Are you trying to say that I'm a bad person? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that now, as an adult, I understand that at the time you didn't think you had any other choices. And so you made this choice, which you didn't realize was going to have like this aftershock effect on me. And now you're questioning yourself and how good a person you are. You're a good person. You made a decision in the moment that you thought was the best for you, but you didn't realize that there were aftershock repercussions for other people. But it's like that with everybody. But what I want really hard for you guys to understand is I'm not saying any of you are bad people. I'm not saying any of you, your trauma is not important. It is. But at some point, you are more than what your trauma was. Your trauma limited you somehow. It made you a little bit more aware. It made you a little bit more careful. It made you a little bit more afraid, anxious, nervous, worried, fearful. I get it. I've been there with you guys. But what I don't want you guys to do is get into this habit of deciding for yourself how everyone's going to be from now on. Because then what's the point of living? What's the point of meeting new people at all if you're going to predict based on your reasoning that it's going to end up exactly the same way? Because I know the telltale signs. The signs are different for everybody. Now you can tell when your nervous system and your soul feels some kind of way about somebody and you stay away from them. That's different. But if people start to speak, and trust me, all of our language is different. We actually really do need subtitles for each other, even if we're speaking the same language, because the lingo is different. The way we use those words is different. We've grown up in different cultures within our own households. There's so many differences that we need to take into account that you can't accurately predict based on your own reasoning and your own experience how this person is going to behave. They may have a different way of expressing themselves, but I get it. It's too scary to just allow. I don't want to leave myself wide open. I don't want to leave myself vulnerable to attack. I get it. But trust me, I know from personal experience, when they start to predictively, when they start to predict your movements, your language, your responses and stuff, they start to change the way they behave around you. They start to take away your ability to be yourself. And it's not a situation where usually you can tell them, hey, you're doing this, because they will see it as an attack, of course. But it's for you to realize that, hey, they're beginning to predict my actions for me before I even have a chance to choose for myself. Ever have somebody accuse you of, oh my God, you did that on purpose, and it was a mere accident and you really did not mean anything by it, but now you can't take it back because the action is done. You can only apologize for it and try to explain to them if they allow you. But now it's based on all of their past experiences, and every time someone's ever done something purposefully to them that hurt or didn't hurt, or they found out later that it was purposeful, part of their difficulty in communicating is understanding the fact that everybody is different. Everybody speaks differently. Everyone behaves differently. And rather than learn from baseline who that person is, they would rather relate it back to something they're familiar with. It's the way we learn, actually. When we learn math equations, we are taught that, this is similar to that. When you see this sign, this is what that means. It's a plus or it's a minus, it's a division or a multiplication. Then you learn your order of operations, and now you're working all your math on a set of rules that you learned way back in the beginning. 1 + 1 is 2, always and forever. Never ever is it any different. So now that you know that's a concrete rule, you can move forward is what people think. But life is not like that. There are no concrete rules, definitely not when it comes to behavior or learning or evolving. What worked for you when you were 5 does not work for you when you're 10, when you're 15, when you're 25, when you're 55. That shit changes. Why? Because you've changed. Because the world around you is changing at the same time. How do you keep up? I have no idea. But think about this. What was Sega Genesis and Nintendo Game Boy is not the same as Sony PlayStation now. It's not the same as, I can't think of any of the other gaming systems, but there's so many other games out there now, right? And now you have things like Twitch where you can stream live and you can talk to people and you can give, responses and reactions and all kinds of stuff. Everything is so digitally connected right now. But it's not the same as it once was. Somebody was able to innovate past that, beyond that. Yes, they use some of it as a framework, but at some point you need to realize, hey, you know what? I need to allow for this person to be themselves and prove to me that they are like everybody else or that they're not. Because in that allowing, you give yourself room to realize that not all patterns are the same. Not all behavior is the same. The reactions of one person who is jealous is not the same as a reaction of another person who's jealous, who's been through some trauma. How someone reacts because they're feeling neglected may not be the same as somebody else who's been through trauma and has been neglected, a different kind of trauma. When I feel neglected, I tend to resign myself from the scene, and I try to go off into my own corner and learn to be by myself again, because I don't want to deal with the neglect. Because if I'm with you and you're neglecting me, that means I am in a situation where I'm expecting a reaction. Whereas if I take myself out of that situation completely, I have no one to expect a reaction from, and then I don't hurt myself. That's how I deal with neglect. It's how I've always dealt with neglect. When I'm angry, I try to take myself out of the situation, away from the situation, so I can calm down first and look at it logically. Whereas some people, when they're angry, will lash out first and apologize later, thinking that the apology will be able to cover everything that you've done while you were angry. Sometimes the apology isn't enough. Sometimes the apology doesn't cover anything at all. But the point is, if I allow certain people, when they start to raise their voice, to remind me of everyone else who's ever raised their voice at me, and then I react accordingly, I'm not giving that person the chance to show up and be themselves, and my chance to allow myself to understand who they are and what makes them them. I'm already deciding and, predicting based on my reasoning, and I'm limiting them. So I hope this makes sense. There's a lot of different explanations out there, a lot of different, ideas that I wanted to put out there. But the point being that when you decide for someone else that this is the way it's going to end up, before you allow them to be who they are and show you, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're cutting yourself short. You're denying yourself the possibility that this could be a great relationship where you could actually talk about things rather than decide who's right and who's wrong and judge. It's easy to judge, y'all. It's really hard to allow people to be who they are, to really try your best to understand who they are, and then give them the space to be who they need to be, to help them evolve out of whatever trauma they have. And yeah, that means you got to be in a safe, stable place too, but predictive reasoning can be very damaging for the person who's doing the predicting and for the person who's being predicted. I have never in my life, when I conducted a experiment, predicted and ensured that the prediction came through. I had to allow things to take their course so I could see what was actually real. And that's the hardest thing in the world, because it leaves you in a very vulnerable state. But if you really want love in your life, if you really want to be connected to somebody, and for someone to really know you, you have to be ready to know them too. It's not one-sided, y'all. You can block people from seeing your reactions and likes and dislikes and stuff. You can block people from certain actions, on different social media places. But you need to think about that. Why are you blocking this person? What is it that you're trying to prevent? What is it trying to keep yourself safe from? What is it about you that you don't want someone to see? And I truly, truly wish that we would learn how to just be and how to let others be. Like that live and let be thing. Seriously, that's a big and difficult lesson to learn. But I feel like if we could stop predicting what people are going to do and allow them to be themselves, we'd be quite shocked and surprised. In a good way. That people are not as evil as they seem to be. They're not as vindictive or small-minded as you think they could be. And yeah, there's a possibility that they are, but there's also a possibility that they're not. And the only way to heal past trauma is to allow those things to happen naturally, so you can be proven that these things aren't the rule. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. You guys, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you tuning in and listening to me rant. Today was really important to me. I needed to kind of work it out for myself as well as speak to all of you. But more than anything else, I do want you guys to find a way to heal yourselves. I feel like if you were able to understand yourself and the world around you, there would be less and less temptation to escape from your life, or to finish your life, or to act erratically. I think you'd find so much more happiness and joy. And that's honestly, that's all I want for you guys. I really do. So I love you guys. I'll catch you again soon. And y'all take care. Bye.